Thank you. So my story, I'll start with when I chose to enter religious life. It was by chance. I didn't really think that was my calling. I never thought that I was ever going to be joining a religious order. But I think God had it in Him to say I need her, and here I am. And so, but in any case, a beautiful person in my religious community is Sister Juliana Garcia, who is a Spanish nun, an amazing person, very much with the same character of Teresa Avila, that kind of person. And she was my mentor, and I was under her. And one day we went we were actually at a shelter that was overseeing families that were coming from Salvador and was called Casa Oscar Romero. And the families were arriving in the thousands, and we were just basically apolitical. That's how our bishop said, to make sure that we didn't get involved with politics, but just basically the humanitarian response to these many families. And she said, Norma, there's a gathering at a congressman's office, and I need us to go there and be present and support the people that are speaking up in defense of the people where actually we know their reality and how much they suffer. We see their stories and the atrocities of what they're going through. And so I said, sure. So we ended up there, and when we arrived, the police arrived, and they started arresting everybody. And what happened was that Sister Tornson looks at me and she tells me, Norma, when we say we believe in something and we just run away when things get tough, then we really don't stand for anything. And so we're no one. And so we both cannot get arrested because somebody needs to go take care of the families. I was possibly 25. She was possibly around 45, 50, and I looked at her and I said, I guess it's me, right? And she said, okay, bye. And she takes off, and she leaves me there. And so it was quite a moment for me in defining who I was, what I stood for, and why would I stay? Why did I have to stand up and be arrested and go through all of this that I didn't totally understand what's happening? But I came to I accept the fact that we must learn to encounter and uncover who we are and what we stand for. And that's where my life started to unfold. To be able to step up and not be afraid, to be ourselves, to be me, and to be who I believe God was asking me to become. And that's how I got started. So moving forward to the very present right now and how things started to develop, actually 10 years ago in 2014, when such a massive number of children started to arrive to the border of South Texas with Mexico in great numbers. And so the families were being processed and released to our communities in great numbers in devastating conditions. So I immediately moved forward to try to respond to see how we could have the community help these families and in whatever way we could. And everybody stepped up and helped. But one of the things that really grounded me to who I am now and what I've done since that day forward was my experience when I asked a local judge to get me permission to enter the detention facility, because I was hearing that there were so many children at the border, unaccompanied kids that were in great thousands of numbers, but I wasn't seeing them. I was seeing families with their kids released, and so we were responding to that. So I asked him, get permission so I can enter those detention facilities where these kids are supposed to be. And he got me permission to go in there. And that encounter that I faced when I saw those children truly grounded me to understand the role and the purpose of who we are as people and our role into what we must be doing to save humanity, to save these children that I saw in this. It was a facility, it was a small facility that is simply used to process immigrants and determine what to do with them. It's not equipped to handle people beyond a couple of hours, maybe a day at most. And it was full with children, little ones, chiquitos, not more than 10 years old. They were all dirty, gray, from crossing the river and the mud drying in their skin and their clothing. And these cells were packed with them. And I was standing there with the officers, the agents of Border Patrol, and they were showing me all the cells, and every cell had a big glass window. And the children were just, their little faces were looking out and looking at us. All of them, with their little faces full of tears, just those eyes, And I asked can I go in there with them? And they said, no, sister, it's not possible. And of course I said, but I want to pray with them. And how can you say no to a nun that wants to pray, right? So I got in. I was in, but honestly, it was the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. To walk into this one cell with children, barely able to get myself into the center of that cell, and all of them surrounded me, pulling my dress, looking up with tiny little faces, crying, and telling me, sácame de aquí, please get me out of here. I couldn't do but just start crying with them. And I said, let's pray. Vamos a rezar. Y Diosito, ayúdanos. And they said, God, please help us. And they prayed with me, and the officers, they were looking inside. And they too were crying. When I walk out of that cell, the officer in charge tells me, sister, thank you. You helped us realize that they're human beings. I think that something that we lose sight of and forget is a human part of who we are. And we let our jobs, our responsibilities, our laws, and our whatever tell us and dictate to us how we must be. But that connectedness to our humanities is our connectedness to God. That God within us that tells us who we are and what we need to stand up for and what we must say and how we can use our voice, our presence in making sure that every person that we encounter in our life, no matter who that person is, that we treat with the utmost dignity and respect. And we help them realize that they too are a child of God. That is truly the only mission we have in life. Why is it that we lose sight of it and we let others, as I heard the word here, hijack? I always use that word. Why do we let others hijack our faith, our identity of who we truly must be, and let them decide for us how we must live out our faith, our God that is within us, that I'm certain is with all of us. And if we don't reflect it, it's because we've lost sight of that connectedness to that beautiful presence of God within us. And so the border and all the families that arrive to the border, what I see is families struggling, mothers that all they care about is protect their child. Dads who can hold a young boy that's crying because he misses his dad and will hold them tenderly and try to help them come down. And every day, I see our shelter that is filled with families that we have mats on the floor so they can lay down in the evening. And 2019 was the year that we had the most people that have I ever seen at our center. Almost 1,000 people arrive every single day. No comparison to today. When they say today is like the worst, no, it's not. It was back in the 2019 when we were seeing so many people that we were receiving. And the people, when I didn't have any more space to put anybody in that room, and they walked in at night, and I said, no sé dónde te voy a poner, mijo. And the families would just move. There's space here. Madre. Their space with us. It is this understanding of humanity that we must be able to not let others steal from us. We must own it. We must make sure that we pass it on and leave it out. Be our very best so that others can also be their best as well. I think this is what is missing and what we must do to help us. I don't know. I don't like to use the word fight, but counter the negativity and the what is happening to our country that is focusing in things that are truly are not as important as who we are as people and what really values. Because I'm a counselor myself, and I ask people, what would be the one thing that you would not do if it was your very last day in your life? You know? And everybody's response is the same. I would love my family more. I would make sure that I was close to my family and show them how much I love them. So that is the most important part of us. I think that we must learn how to make sure we protect that part of us, because that's what really will define us at the end. You know, my wonderful bishop always says that, and I think my time's up. But my bishop always says, si no caminamos juntos, nunca vamos a llegar. If we don't know and learn how to walk together, we will never get there. So let us stay together and make sure that all of us learn how to respect the dignity of the life that God has granted us and be one. Thank you.